Hi guys, it's Sunday. I've got the day off for once. My God, shock horror, always working. However, I'm still working for you. So I want to talk about steering. So I am teaching a American student at the moment, beautiful woman, great hair, right? Wonderful. But she's got 7 years experience of driving. She's got her license in America and she's come over here and she has decided that she wants to drive a manual car, right? So that's fine. So she's got all of this experience and her steering, she's been taught a different way of steering in America. And there's one part of her steering that isn't quite compatible with being totally safe. So I'm going to change that for her. So the incorrect steering that I'm going to change for her safety is that she's putting her hand on the inside of the wheel and she's turning. Not particularly safe if the airbag goes off. I want to train her out of this because you never know when you're going to get into a problem on the road. If anyone hits you, the airbags can be very sensitive and you don't want to have your hand on the inside for hopefully very obvious reasons. So we need to keep her hands on the outside of the wheel. So this is a deeply ingrained sort of bit of steering that she's been taught apparently, and I want to teach her out of this. It is a bit tricky teaching somebody out of a steering technique. It's a bit like changing a knife and fork around the other way. It is a relatively tricky thing, but I just need to keep on reminding her, like hands on the outside of the wheel, right? So this has sort of prompted me to make this video because of your driving test and what's expected of you of your driving steering on your driving test. So what the examiner is looking for ultimately is excellent position. Excellent position trumps absolutely everything else, bar a couple of things when you're driving. All right, so excellent position. So this pull push steering technique that you may have heard about that your driving instructor is going to teach you is a preferred technique that the examiner wants to see, but it's not mandatory. But if your hands are on the outside of the wheel, yeah, that's good. And if you're crossing your hands, fine, but your position has got to be good. The only things that you can't do where you're actually going to start picking up minors on your driving test is if you let the steering wheel slip, right? So if you turn a corner and you literally just let go of the steering wheel and it corrects itself back to normal, I'm afraid you haven't got full control of your steering. The examiner is very likely to give you minors for this because you haven't actually got full control. I'm afraid I heard a petrifying story about my student getting a lift with her recently passed friend, and her friend went onto the dual carriageway or motorway, can't remember which one, and her friend was steering with her knees. Guys, no, if somebody is giving you a lift and they're driving with their knees, it's not funny, it's not cool, it's just not, okay? Ask your friend to hold the steering wheel. It's very, very dangerous indeed, yeah. If I've had somebody fail for, they were holding the steering wheel at 6 o'clock when they were driving. My student had already failed for hitting the curb. This happened years ago. He gave up, he couldn't be bothered anymore. So he just held the steering wheel at 6 o'clock for the rest of his drive. The examiner didn't like that. He gave him another fail for that as well. And also, like I said, we don't want to have your hand on the inside of the wheel when you turn, all right? Keep your hands on the wheel at all times. I know I'm a driving instructor and I still see quite unusual things, but don't take your hands off the wheel to do your hair. I've seen that a few times, or blow your nose or whatever. I've had a student before not know whether she can fit through a gap and she's taken both her hands off and she's just covered her eyes. I've got full control of the car, guys. I know that sounds really scary. I'm laughing because it's just so ridiculous. You know, my job can be just so funny sometimes. Like I had full control, no one was in danger, but she did decide to take both her hands off to cover her eyes to go through the gap. So keep your hands on the wheel, guys. So I hope that makes sense. So the things that you can't do, like basically hold the steering wheel at 10 to 2 or quarter to 3. Those are your basic stance points of how to hold the wheel. Don't let go of it. Don't let it return back to normal by itself. Don't put your hand inside the wheel for your own safety, and always hold the wheel, you know, as much as you can, and only take your hand off to change gear or to interact with the controls with your left hand, or well, the lights can be on the right hand side as well, but you know, only take off one hand at a time if you're using the auxiliary controls, like, you know, doing the blower or doing the lights or whatever. and then try and get your hand back to the steering wheel when you can for your own safety. All right, pull push steering is a preferred technique. Yeah, he does like to see it, but if you're crossing hands on the outside of the wheel, not too much of a problem as long as your position is immaculate. All right, I hope that helps, guys, and take care, look after yourself, and good luck with your test.